Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. From the deepest jungles to the outmost reaches of space and beyond the veils of death itself, the Bald and Bonkers Boys are back for another episode. It's no secret that you won't know what will happen next, but Dakota Frandsen and Chris Moore promise that all bets are off. Viewer discretion and straitjackets advised. These two idiots live up to the name.
Microphone. There. See, what the fuck is going on? Jesus Christ. Ugh. Like 10 minutes before the show started, my computer just shut down. I had the blue screen of death on my end. Sorry about that. How the hell is everybody? How is everyone? Do you hear me now? Do you hear me now? Do you hear me now? Bald and silent. I think I fixed it. And man, this is why I'm the bonkers of Bald and Bonkers. Anyway, jeez, I don't know why they're fucking with me today. Jesus. But it's been kind of an eventful week. How is everybody going on? How is everybody in the States doing after the emergency alert test? The regularly scheduled 2 to 3 year test of the emergency alert system so they can warn everybody that shit is going to go down. Not that there's an apocalyptic event, just that shit is going down. How's everybody? Any zombies? No. Maybe. You're either a parent, a fentanyl user, or a social media influencer. Oh. Well, I don't know. It was kind of weird. It was like, for some of you may know this, but for those of you who don't, there was another incident, UFO-wise, near me, not this week. It started out at about 8:23 p.m. I was just going to work, not expecting to do much. Then all of a sudden I notice there is a small kind of orangish light that is hauling ass through the sky. I did the usual checks. No mappable satellites, no flight records. And it was pulling off some pretty impressive maneuvers. No real sound to discern. I checked all resources. No flights should have been in the air that are mappable. Naturally, this does not always include military flights. I managed to get some video of it. Yeah, I posted it up on one of my other channels. And by all accounts, it seems I genuinely caught something. Exactly what? I don't know. But it seemed like it was hauling ass. 4 hours later, I'm about halfway through my work schedule. One of my contacts in local law enforcement actually sends me a message saying that there's an officer who is reporting a series of strange lights in mountains just south of me. A lot of you who watch this show probably aren't from the area, so I'll explain the situation a bit. Obviously, I'm in the south, just at the base of the sawtooth. Runs right through here. There's smaller area of mountains that is part of the sawtooths that my family and I always like to go up. Locally, they're known as the South Hills. Now, in regards to this UFO incident, several videos and eyewitness accounts point that it does look like it was military running drills. Here's the interesting bit. Where they were flying those planes was where the craft I filmed was hauling ass from. Now, I actually been kind of monitoring cases in my area, and for 30 something plus years, pretty much since the Roswell incident, a majority of the local UFO sightings seem to somehow be related to the South Hills. This includes, now, this could very well just be a well-timed coincidence, but this could very well include the incident where I was about 6 years old and was abducted and later found inside my grandparents' house with no memory of how the hell I got there. My grandparents' house is practically at the base of the mountain. It's about a 20-minute drive from the main roadway, from my grandparents' house to the main roadway to go up the mountain. There's a couple of camping areas. There's a popular ski area that's up there. And I also know from my investigations that there is a small Sasquatch population up there. They mostly keep to themselves. There's only one incident I've ever heard of where a Sasquatch potentially went on the attack. Granted, it was after it was struck by a car, so understandably so, I'd be a little ticked off too. But that's my current update. It does look like a majority of the strange lights that the officer saw were probably military based, but honestly, which Air Force base near you, Dakota? It is Mountain Home Air Force Base is the main one. I was told that the flight squadron, I believe it's the 366th, was doing maneuvers. There's also several private airstrips, and all around me, they do flight trainings. There's possibly, honestly, I'm starting to wonder if there may be something hidden in those mountains. Because like I said, I can personally validate that there's a Sasquatch population there, and several craft have been seen there. It should also be worth noting that the South Hills are just barely above the Idaho-Nevada border. And the federal offices down in Nevada and Idaho, they coordinate all the time. I actually know of one incident where it was an FBI office in Salt Lake that brought attention to authorities here in Idaho about a possible school shooting threat. And I will say that they managed to have boots kicking down doors within the hour before the school started, so no harm was done. There is a lot of activity around me, though, Dots. You can actually look this up. It's the Twin Falls saucer hoax incident. It was like within the week of Roswell, where it looked like a small UFO that was claimed to be made of like plexiglass, and it was written off as teenagers goofing around. But right around after this incident was deemed a hoax, media coverage for all the sightings that were going on here in Idaho as well as everywhere else pretty much died off. And that includes the Kenneth Arnold incident as well. It's something I went into a few shows back, but I don't know. Main reason why I know about this stuff is because, well, I got a lot of contacts in the area, and I put out a favor saying that if you hear of anything weird, call me. And I'm cashing in good on that favor. But still, it honestly goes to make you wonder. Why? Now, it's not uncommon for training runs to be done at this time of year. Do it right as the weather's still somewhat nice. But it is unusual. I will mark this. Maybe this is why they tried to shut down my computer earlier, like 10 minutes before the broadcast. They are rolling out fancier planes. You might remember about a month, almost 2 months back, there was another mass sighting that I talked about here on the air that involved a massive triangle-shaped craft that looked like it was intercepted by jets. And while part of me wants to dismiss this next part as my own eyes playing tricks on me in the night, I've also noticed possible stealth tech. And I will just leave it at this. Basically, on a clear night, there would be things flying above what looked like something blocking the stars for like a brief second, and the light around the light of the star would actually bend. If you ever pointed like a laser pointer where like in a clear glass of water and it bends like that, it was very similar to that function. Kiwani, let's just reading the chat here from Robin, who lives in the same state as Dakota. His lifelong contact with Sasquatch. I read he's actually in Washington. I'm in Idaho, but it is close enough. I'm right on the border, but nevertheless, I'm starting to get more and more convinced of the Sasquatch ET connection, but exactly how deep that goes, I don't know. I feel like there's some. I honestly feel like there's some sort of like PTSD level flashbacks getting ready to brew for me here very soon for how much is kicking up. Could that be a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. Let's see. Based on the stuff I remember so far, it's a mess. So that's just kind of an update on what I have there so far. It's definitely interesting to see how it goes. Now tonight's topic actually comes from a guest email who wanted to ask me a few questions in regards to some of the stuff we talked about, as well as the show and all that stuff. So I'm actually going to bring it up here. I kept their name out. Is it showing? Come on. There we go. Now I can see it. So yeah, interesting connection. Sasquatch and ETs. I had not considered that before. I was hesitant to, because honestly, a lot of the people who tried to use this alleged theory seem like they were trying to make up excuses as to why one has not been caught. Personally, in my experience, especially the young ones seem to be darker in color. And the one I encountered, it was definitely a juvenile. It was almost midnight when I spotted it. It saw me setting up a bait trap. I wasn't looking to hurt the thing. I was hoping to try to catch a foot casting. But it saw me setting up its watch and it started to come out. I jumped because, I realized, ooh, baby Bigfoot. And that thing just took off. It was the middle of the night. It was mostly dark. It had mostly dark fur. There was no way I was going to keep up with that thing. And I didn't have any sophisticated, thermal equipment to monitor its location. Anyway, going back to what I was saying. So this person wrote into the show, said, "Hey guys, love the show. I always try to catch the lives on weekends, but usually listen through Audible on my way to work. My family and I love that you take a humorous approach and try to make everyone feel welcome. Something that I honestly wish more people would implement into their shows and communities. Yeah, it would be nice to see more, people getting along and working together than the drama that stirs up. But one step at a time, right? They go on to say, I wanted to ask Dakota a couple of questions, if that's all right. If not, I understand. I don't mean any trouble. Question number one is, do you have ADHD? I sometimes notice it can be hard for you to stay on track when you and Chris go into your banter, and you seem to be kind of irritated by it. I get that the show is called Bald and Bonkers, but there's quite a bit that you guys talk about that can be complex and hard for people to understand, and the joking around can be a bit much. Well, let's address this. I have never been formally diagnosed, but DNA tests that some of my relatives have taken, ones that I know for sure are directly related to me, have shown that apparently in my bloodline, we do have the genes for ADHD-like behaviors to manifest. And honestly, it would explain how I can see pedophilia and be able to take on so much at once. Have I been formally diagnosed? No. Do I want to be dealing with a bunch of pills that alter my personality? Hell no. One of my sisters was put on ADHD pills because her teacher didn't want to, deal with, a kid not paying attention. She also probably didn't take into consideration that my sister was apparently blind, so she wasn't paying attention in class because she couldn't back and see. But I digress. So, formal diagnosis, no, but strong possibility. Question number 2 is, have you written any books about your experiences? I know about Dear Coda and how you started to address the ET situation you deal with, but it seems like you learned a bunch more that you have a hard time expressing or fitting into a show. All right. I've had quite a few people ask me about this. I will say, yes, there is a book coming together. And yes, there's certain aspects about this. If you've caught pretty much any of my shows or any of the interviews I've done, I've touched into it a bit that certain things started to manifest out of some really negative events that I wouldn't wish on anybody. So getting to talk about some of these things, and as well as talking about some of the things I remember, it's hard. And for me, I've developed this kind of practice. I noticed that if someone goes to reach out saying, they have a situation, they think I might be able to help them, in order to establish trust with that person, I start to reveal details that I haven't really shared before, try to bring us on the same level. Because obviously, you go to someone, asking for help on something, it's going to make you feel better knowing that they know what the hell they're doing, right? They know, their frustration and all that. And, that's the logic of it. Unfortunately, being that I've started to become more and more public about certain things, it has brought on a lot of stress and unnecessary attacks. But I don't want to claim that, 3-letter agencies, because I do have some strong ties. I'll get to that in a sec, Robin. I do have some strong ties with CIA, NSA, nothing in official capacity. I just happen to have a friend to a friend type situation. And if there's something that comes to my attention that I want to ask them, they're usually pretty honest. And they've even explained that when it comes to their lifetime secrecy acts, their non-disclosure agreements they have to sign when they get into these positions, they are able to talk about the things they've dealt with. It's just that exactly how and names of people involved are have to be omitted. It's pretty much the same as when I go to reach out to one of my relatives in law enforcement because, let's say, one example that we had to, say, just as one example, there was a really, really, really harsh blizzard that was hitting the area. I mean, for me, driving home wasn't too bad because the routes I drive usually are major truck roads, so they're the first ones plowed. There's this one as I'm driving along, I'm already stressed out because I feel my ass end wiggling. I don't want to end up in a crash in the middle of a blizzard. That'd just be awful. But I see this car pull out in front of me. I was driving up past a high school. This car goes to pull out, spins in front of me, ends up in the middle of a field. Conditions are slick. You're hardly able to see a thing. The only reason I was able to tell it was a car is the fact that I saw the disco lights from it spinning. Now, I wanted to stop, make sure the guy was okay, but I felt that because of how bad the road was, if I stopped, I was only going to be putting myself in problems' way. So naturally, once I had got home, got safe, and calmed down, I reached out to my contacts, said, hey, there was a crash here about this time. I wanted to stop, but felt like if I did, I'd get myself into a crash. Is the guy okay? They mentioned, yeah, I know what you're talking about. He's okay. He needed a change of pants, but he's okay. All right. Now I'm just reading the comments here. Most of the NSA and military are white hats. It's other feds you got to be careful of. NSA and CIA are behind a lot of the major corrupt operations that follow through. FBI, they've tried to crack down on it, but it's usually NSA or CIA that shuts them down. And a lot of the federal investigations is because I had to get involved due to some rather gruesome things that were going on, as well as some things that were targeting my family. So I ended up building trust, and I also know that a lot of them like to watch these kinds of shows, and that's how they found out about me. So, hi guys. Anyway, moving on. This kind of goes into Robin's earlier question, have I had any recent contact with my awful family? So the person that wrote in, they asked, how exactly does the situation with your ET kids work? Was it a natural conception? Were they grown in a lab? What's going on there? I'm genuinely curious about this one the most. Robin, the contacts with my otherworldly family, it's pretty much like every other day now. There's been a couple times where I know Dots has joked about this, where some of the UFOs flying over my house are probably my kids going on joyrides, and let's just say he's not far off. Don't spit your tea, Dots. And the reason why that contact is so soon as the 3-letter organizations are mentioned. Figures, huh? You don't like it when I talk about you? Mm-hmm. Like an obsessive ex. Anyway. The contact is like almost like every other day. But the thing is, they're not just sitting up there waiting for me to become available to take on jobs. They have their own jobs to do. The reason why, technically speaking, I'm not actually supposed to know about them. But it became a situation where they knew that the only thing that was going to help save my life is that if I knew about them, because they knew that the second I knew a kid was in trouble, that's when the worst fighter comes out of me, and especially if it's going to be my own kid. But again, that's probably why a lot of people are asking about the book. Yes, it's being written. I'm going with the title. I know you won't believe me. It's going to take the perspective of me going through life and trying to figure all this out. I figured that would be the most effective way to tell the story. And again, there's a lot there that doesn't happen. As far as whether or not they were grown in a lab, because I know there's some people who heard about my abduction story and automatically assume I was taken by Grace for crossbreeding. We're actually going to go into that for tonight. But when it comes to my kids, I will say this. I know that at least the youngest was the result of mommy and daddy putting the bun in the oven. As for the other two, I'm still not clear on how that one works. Part of it sounds like they were around before I came down. Others not so much. The fact that time travel has apparently been a part of this makes this very confusing. Now, as far as how it actually works, in our case, being that, okay, this obviously involves quite a bit of backtracking. So we're just going to shut this down. When it comes to hybridization, it's not that out there when you really think about it. I mean, we see it all the time in nature. We have the polar grizz. There's a number of different factors that go into it. I mean, the beginning of human civilization, whether or not you believe in Anunnaki interference, seems to be about the coexisting timelines. Oh, yeah! Even more so if brave kids traveling back in time to kick you in the ass and have a joyride in the ship. But here's the thing, Dots. It's shit like that that confirms they're my kids. Because I probably do the same damn thing. Anyway. When it comes to how my kids were conceived, my wife, I believe her name is Avina. The thing is, I gotta clarify, when my contact situations have happened, it's almost like as I'm being brought back, the situation's being severely dumbed down. So in case there's something I need to remember, I know I'll be able to recite it easily in a way that, you know, people who are lucky enough not to be utterly confused by seeing this shit firsthand would be able to understand. Hybridization is, you know, it's a lot more common than people think, and we're actually seeing it in our world under natural circumstances today due to climate change. Yes, climate change is real. The planet goes on its own cycles. I mean, you have the polar grizz, which was the result of polar bears moving towards major land surfaces and grizzly bears and polar bears having overlapping mating seasons. When it comes to my kids, if there was any outside treatment that needed to be done, it would be mostly for medical reasons, to eliminate any potential illness. That's always going to be a risk when it comes to crossbreeding different species. In our case, the situation is not as high risk because my wife is technically human. Just enough of our DNA matches up to where viable children can be reproduced. I actually know of this one incident when I was up there, where I was being called in on a medical emergency because there was these two pregnant women who were having some sort of complications. And me and this other guy, I'm not exactly sure his name, but he was humanoid, taller than I am. If anything, the vibe I got off this guy was similar to Shaquille O'Neal. But anyway, we were both medical officers. We got called in because these women were having complications. They were bleeding. There was genuine fears of losing the baby. When we started to run examinations to find out exactly what was wrong, these were hybrid children. I believe, if I remember correctly, we were able to sequence the DNA of the child and actually get a very vivid picture of what the father looks like. He looked like he was he would basically be what you would describe as a type of reptilian, which it didn't seem like this pregnancy was put together under false pretenses. It wasn't, some abduction and hybridization effort. It seemed consensual. But we monitored it closely. The second we were able to identify the father's genome, we got the bleeding to stop. Then we administered a stabilization agent. This is how it was explained to me. I remember seeing the woman in the pods, and there was a substance that was going into them. And almost immediately, their condition improved. The babies were okay, and we sent them on the way. Whether or not I'm remembering this correctly, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know it does check out. Because more often, when there's several reports of these alleged abductions and hybridizations and there's even been one case where I dealt with where down here, the woman was physically showing signs that she was pregnant, then all of a sudden, it's just like the baby vanished. In that case, it was probably a gray. Just lost my track of thought there. See, an HD! But our DNA is compatible with many alien races, universal almost. Yes, but there's always still that risk. There's a number of complications that can actually come up. In fact, one of the experiments that we know of down here involves basically what they're trying to do down here is try to see what animals can be used to artificially grow human-like organs for the purpose of potential transplant. You hear about pigs being injected with human DNA, so a form of chimerism, right? Sometimes there's complications with the babies, and the babies have to be removed and monitored medically in order for them to come to full term. That's the thing. They can take just fine. If everything settles correctly, they can become viable as adults, meaning that they can have their own offspring. There's still several levels of complications, and their medical technology is sophisticated enough to where it's just a matter of finding out who's mommy, who's daddy, then bridging the gap. The way I understood it at the time was similar to RH incompatibility, where say like father's A plus, mother's B negative. The mother has to go through a series of shots in order to make sure that her immune system doesn't attack the baby, recognizing it as a foreign substance. It's under that same premise. Some of the experimentation when it comes to hybridization down here, they're looking to part of the process they're actually looking into is to seeing what animal's sperm functions the same. And one of the several of the embryos that actually took and started to grow, the embryos were terminated before they could reach full term. So allegedly, none of these animals have got out and are running about. These animals were like a deer sheep hybrid and a few others. Another one that I thought was kind of interesting was a hybrid between a cow and a dolphin. Now, when it comes to the egg cell, there's almost like a gelatin-like layer that basically acts as a filter for what types of sperm gets in. If any foreign sperm gets introduced, it helps keep it out. But they've also found that for some reason, certain animals that you would not be compatible under natural circumstances can get through. And they think it's because there is just enough of a genetic similarity. Damn, fucking allergies. I mean, right now, like I said before, whether or not you believe in the ET interference of early human evolution, mainstream science believes that modern humans are essentially hybrids of 5 different humanoid races that had pre-existed. Homo sapiens sapiens was just the one that was deemed the most fit. A lot of archaeological records state that the most likely reason for this is that the modern man, as we see it now, was more likely to come together in times of crisis. And that's why they also say, what's the first sign of civilization? When you see a healed, broken bone. That means that someone physically took care of this individual who sustained that injury until the bone was healed. That would be the first sign of civilization. Now, with ET interference, our DNA becoming compatible, as Dot says, we're not exactly a universal donor. That's why O negative blood was believed to be introduced to help us reach that, but there is still some complications. But their understanding of DNA and how it works is so extensive that it's almost like going into a doctor for a common cold. It's almost that easy to fix. And it gets to be real fascinating when you think about it. Some contactees even reports specimens, ETs out there with green skin. And it was explained to them that the environments these beings were going to be introduced, because there is part of the hybridization DNA programs out there, is their main concern is to make sure whoever they go to plant on that planet is able to survive. And for whatever reasons out there, wherever that particular being, the examples they would give, they would look like Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy. They would be humanoid, but they would have plant skin. They would have green skin because of chlorophyll in their bloodstream. They made it to where they didn't necessarily have to eat anything. They can just survive on light. Again, obviously, with the average understanding of DNA down here, that type of process to create a viable offspring from that, because again, there's several animals you can crossbreed and they can produce offspring, but they're not exactly viable. They can't have kids of their own. That's where a lot of the struggle comes in. And also, when you take into consideration the organ transplant processes, being that the memories, talents, and personality of the donor can sometimes somehow be transferred over to the to the recipient in those cases, if that organ is coming from a pig, what's going to do that to that person? They going to sniff for truffles? But also the same as in reverse, that they're also trying to avoid essentially a Planet of the Apes scenario down here, where the planets, where the animals who become part of this program they're tested on, they don't start to develop human levels of consciousness or intellect. They don't become aware of what's going on around them. They just know that they're being hurt. They don't know why. They don't know how. Makes you wonder what would happen if they tried that shit with an octopus. But again, part of the issue when it comes to these experiments is gathering the samples on an ethical level, which is a lot of the issue that comes up with these types of experimentations in dealing with just about anything supernatural. The ethical implications. If we were able to go in and grab these things just fine, that's one thing. But you may as well be torturing several people, putting them under surgery, and the word gets out about the things you're doing, it's going to backfire tremendously. Which also raises the question, what the hell happened to allow the ETs to have such an extensive knowledge? Is it going to be like down here where they learned because something fucked up? Maybe. In talking about this type of subject, it also makes you wonder how the term GMO transfers among our star friends. Genetically modified organisms. Just about any fruit or vegetable you buy in the store, anything that is brought up from farms nowadays, could very well be a hybrid. Look about 50, 70 years ago, several of these fruits and vegetables either didn't exist or look very different. But that's also because inbreeding is a major function. We're artificially isolating certain traits. And that's where a lot of several different issues can come about. Just look at dog breeders and how many issues, purebred dogs have. Like Dodd says, we are the GMOs. Precisely. Now, it could very well be a situation where it's gotten so extensively, they're so used to it that the ethical dilemmas behind it are no longer a concern. They just know that something has to be done. And there's several extensive surgeries that can be implemented. But this also comes into the realm of like the film Gattaca. Where do we draw the line? Understandable. If you're going to be inhabiting a planet, you're going to want the people there and the future generations that are going to be calling that planet home to be able to survive. Preferably without needing too much technical interference. They don't need to, put on a spacesuit just to go on a Sunday stroll. Or whatever they call it. It is a fascinating topic. Exactly. And if you are to take the ET theories behind it, we are the hybrid of at least, I think it's up to 23, isn't it? 23 different races tossed in their DNA to create modern humans. Which also brings up another thing. Another issue when it comes to hybridization is that certain gene combinations are guaranteed to be lethal. So if we have 23, 24 races in total messing around with our DNA, not everybody's going to have the same, concentrations. Some people may have a little bit more reptile. Some may have a little bit more this. Some people may have, octopus DNA. I don't know. Who the hell knows? I know what Elena says. I follow her pretty close, and she's one of the few exceptions, I would say, when it comes to some of the things she talks about. Naturally, I say you should always, no matter who it is, present yourself with a level of skepticism, even me. Be skeptical about the information that comes out, but Elena, I know for a fact, has a decent enough track record where she deserves to at least be heard. Whether or not you take up her information, that's your call at the end of the day. Just like right here. I mean, how does knowing about hybridization play into your day-to-day? There's another factor when it comes to people who are being abducted. Focus, damn you! Talking to my camera. Fuck, I just had a marker. Ah, there it is. There's also something else when it comes to the women in particular that get abducted for these hybridization experiments. Did you know pregnant ladies can technically be considered chimeras? It's a little bit more expressed if they gave birth to a boy. But yeah, technically pregnant women can be considered chimeras because of what happens during pregnancy. I should probably grab a sock or something. Yeah. Now, I hope my sister isn't watching this show because she is about 7 months pregnant. Elena's intel has been spot on so far. Yeah, I know. She's the main reason I figured out how much I know about my situation. Let's say you got a little bundle of joy. It is well known that when a woman is pregnant, the baby will send stem cells out to the rest of the out to the body in order to help repair the damage. That means the baby's also sending out part of its own DNA. That DNA can actually implant part itself in the placenta. And the mother can carry it on for future generations. So what does that mean? So say a woman gets abducted, implanted with, let's say a gray, as an example. That means that while the gray child is still in there, part of that gray's DNA is getting sent out to the mother. Now, the mother's already having to be monitored just to make sure that the pregnancy doesn't naturally terminate itself. When they go to take the child, that's what they're going to make it look like. But, again, they have to be monitored to make sure that the compatibility doesn't affect the child's health. Now, with some of the more malevolent grays out there, they're not going to give two shits. If it fails, they're just going to move. They're just going to try again and move on to someone else. It could very well be. And with the forces of light, for lack of a better word, same function applies. Isn't a chimera, as known here, a baby with both sexes present? No, that is a hermaphrodite. Or, what was it? It depends on the genetic level, but there's also a genetic condition known as, I believe it's Klinefelter syndrome, where a person can physically have two X chromosomes and a Y. And they can have both traits of both sexes present. These people are legitimately, a lot of people got, not too long ago, there was actually, I believe it was a knight that was found. They ran DNA tests and saw that it actually had this condition. It is genetic. And Chris, no, I don't have it, as far as I know. The chimera comes from, I believe, Greek mythology, and it's essentially an animal that's an amalgamation of several different animals put together. In medical terms, chimerism happens a lot with people who were supposed to be twins. One sick outward, another inward. No, with chimerism, in medical terms, it's most common in people who are supposed to be twins, where one twin gets absorbed into another. The family may actually not know. A lot of what brings awareness to if someone has this condition, it doesn't present any, major defects or anything like that. If it was a twin, it's going to be compatible, right? It's going to be those cases where if, say, a father goes in for a DNA test, his wife, he's been loyal to his wife has been loyal to him. They didn't date anybody else since they were together, didn't sleep with anybody else. There's no insinuations that the wife was sexually assaulted by, some drunk guy at an alley somewhere. So, yeah, something like that. In mythological terms. But anyway, that's what I'm saying. And with these situations, the parents get to go DNA tested. Either the mother or the father doesn't match the child's DNA. There's been several cases where children have almost been taken from their biological parents because of this, only for them to find out later on that different parts of the body had different DNA. Say, like, the father, say it's the father who's the chimera, his entire body could show his DNA, but he could technically have another man's testicles. He could have his own brother's testicles because that's where the other twin got absorbed. That's what I'm saying. And when it comes to what I was talking about with the pregnancy thing, it's like, again, the baby will send out parts of its own DNA, stem cells, to patch up the mother's, any injuries the mother may have had. That DNA does not disappear. It can carry on. And it could very well carry on with any future siblings that come about. So say a woman gets implanted with a gray child, something happens during the pregnancy that, DNA gets sent out to the mother from the baby itself. It's not, they're not being abducted and they are most likely, but the baby itself sends the DNA out. It basically implants itself in the mother. The mother goes on to have more kids. Chances are, albeit small samples, of the gray DNA is going to be passed on to the children. Think about that for a sec. The Greys never really had to do mass abductions. We've known that to be a bullshit lie from the start. They just needed to know who was likely to have children and who was likely to have the least amount of pregnancy issues when implanted with the child, and who was more likely to spread on. So that way, the gray DNA becomes a part of ours through natural selection. It's devious, but pretty genius when you think about it. Now, when it comes to the starseed / envoy program, obviously the mother especially, the father sometimes as well. But the mother has to be prepped in order to carry the envoy child. It's a matter of saving balance. So if that child legitimately has extraterrestrial DNA in it, it's helping balance it out. It's integration, yes. This is why I've always said, do not be afraid to be skeptical of anybody, even if someone has an impressive track record. There's chances are they're still human. They might slip up from time to time. It happens. They're human. It's not an excuse to judge them any more or less, unless they have turned so far they are willingly hurting people. I say that's the only fair exception. But everything that we talk about when it comes to the ET phenomenon, the basics, the very bare basics, are already in the general population accessible. Damn near everything can be validated in ways that some of the biggest names out there may have not even thought of themselves. At the end of the day, that's why this integration, this connection, this networking that we do, working together, creating platforms where we can freely talk about this type of stuff, exchange information. That's why it becomes so important. Because yes, it can happen through pregnancy, but every single bit of stimulus that you receive throughout the day can affect your mind. It does affect your mind. It alters every single pathway. Coming together can cause great movement. We also need to make sure we're coming together under the best of terms. Otherwise, some complete abominations may come about. Yeah. When looking for ET, the search starts with you. And as I've come to learn, that takes on more than one meaning. I was not expecting looking for UFOs to turn into a therapy session. But here we are. We're getting back to the end of the show. I do hope you enjoy. Chris said he's going to be back tomorrow, so back to the usual BS. I figure we're going to go into a topic that we haven't really touched on before, and that is allegations of the deep state implanting their plans into mainstream media. Let's go into it. It's a topic we haven't really done on the show, and as more and more is coming to light, it may be a bit interesting to re-examine things that have been overlooked. Probably going to be a lot of Simpsons references, but for how long that show's been on, it's only to be expected. And let's see. I want to say something else. Yes. Next week is actually the second anniversary of the Bald and Bonkers show. Yes, Chris and I have been doing this for about 2 years straight. Somehow we haven't, killed each other yet. We've come close, but we haven't. Though I do imagine, for those of you who caught last week's episode, if you're interested in some, fun merch, we have something brand new in our stores, available to you to purchase. I imagine it will be quite entertaining. Dots, remember, swallow, don't spit. Your tea. Your tea! Oh, God. Introducing our new merch design. Yeah. For those of you on the podcast side, you really should come to a video show from time. You can see this beautiful little alligator with the lipstick in the Scottish flag colors holding up a sign that says, "Want to clap me." Chris, you can get me back tomorrow, buddy. Much love. Stay safe. Stay sane. That's going to be very hard to do with everything that's coming up.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe anywhere you see Bald and Bonkers for even more insanity. Be sure to spread the love to the Bald and Bonkers Boys' other endeavors. And a special thank you to our audience, guests, and everyone else who helps make this crazy ride happen. Amazing things are ahead. Learn more by visiting www.baldandbonkers.net. See you next time. Much love, and take care.
Don't change me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. From the deepest jungles to the outmost reaches of space and beyond the veils of death itself, the Bald and Bonkers Boys are back for another episode. It's no secret that you won't know what will happen next, but Dakota Frandsen and Chris Moore promise that all bets are off. Viewer discretion and straitjackets advised. These two idiots live up to the name.
Look, I'm going to say this right fucking now. What's that you've put in the chat? What's that you've put in the chat there? What is that? Is that my face? Yeah, cheeky bugger that yeah.
Hey, my face is in there too.
Look,
my face is in there too.
Something. I know that you Americans and some other ones use are a bit strange.
Everyone outside of Scotland.
Right, I know some of these are a bit strange, right? And honestly, right? But that's actually a saying in Scotland. Type into Google, right? Clap your dog, right? And it will come up. Oh, no, honestly, just trust me.
I have,
in the 16th century.
Sorry,
in the 16th century, shush. In the 16th century, it will pop up. They used that term if you wanted to pet an animal, right? They did. They used that as an internet. And honestly, there's a lot of Scottish folk out there that use that saying galactic stardust. Well, honestly, we smelly face, and that's probably somebody for the Palladians or something. They're probably rolling about the spaceship, the new as we speak, with froth coming out their mouth and all that kind of stuff. Look, there's Dots. Where are you, Dots? Where's my pal Dots? Right, where are you? I see you putting a comment up earlier. Where's this? Where are you, Dots?
It's on the screen.
Clap a reptilian hybrid. Well, look, Dots, I'm sure you live in the countryside because I've seen the trees and that. I'm sure at night time you go out and clap all the local wildlife. You go out there and you're in the farmer's field chasing the sheepy maize about, you know. You're scratching their little ears. He's probably just sprayed his laptop with tea. Take the tea bag hanging out.
Yeah, I know. We're going to have to put a warning.
It's
swallow.
Look, what's that?
We're going to have to put up a warning. If you decide to have a drink while watching the Bald and Bonkers show, swallow, don't spit.
Yes. Especially if you're out clapping. Look, you Americans.
I think I've broken the man. I've broken the man.
I've always used that for years. I've used that term for years. And if you're wondering what's wrong, I've got a frozen shoulder or something, and I can't turn that way. It hurts like bloody hell. Look, honestly, and it's even when I laugh, it bloody hurts like hell. And don't you be doing any more to go, bloody... There's Dots there, he's laughing, you know. Look, honestly, if you just look it up in Google, right, and there is a lot of controversy about it. There's a lot of Americans, especially Americans, going, oh my God, how can you use that as a saying? But it's actually true. It's an old Scottish thing. What's that? There's Drew. There's my brother, right? Brother Drew. Back me up here. If I had to say to you, clap
you
that
should sell
cap,
cups. Actually,
clap.
we have mugs. We have Clapagator mugs.
Do you? How much are they?
Look at the products attached to this video.
And another thing, become a member, guys. Come on, become a member of the channel. I noticed a lot of you in there are already members. I'm a member, obviously, because I'm one of the Bald and Bonkers guys. Dakota obviously doesn't need to be a member because he's already Bald and Bonkers. There's loads of members in here, guys. Come on, Drew, become a member. It's only 99 cents, which is not even £1 in UK money. So come on, buy it, Drew. You know you want to. It's only 50p. I know, a month. I know you could probably buy yourself every month for 10 years. You could probably buy yourself a Bugatti Veyron or something like that. But come on, become a member and help Dakota. You know, will also help me too, but obviously help him because he's the pay for everything. You know?
Yeah, this one scammed me out of it.
So, right. Here's right. So, other subject we're going to be talking about tonight, Dakota. Do you want to take it away? And then I'll pipe in.
Yeah. Before we get into tonight's topics, which honestly, we could probably consider this as kind of bad timing with the situation currently going on in Israel with the recent attacks by Hamas. It's been brought to my attention that we actually do have some Israeli fan base that are still unaccounted for, who would have been right in the center of that. So honestly, the fuck is going on, man?
Well, before I come on the night, I checked how many people have been lost or how many people have died. There is British nationals missing. There's a lot of American nationals missing. There's French, German, but there's also Chinese and Japanese nationals missing. They reckon the civilian deaths has got to be ridiculous. Yeah, I mean they've invaded on the beach at the same time with gunboats. This is massive, guys. This is really, really bad, and this could take us into like a third world war, right? But what I'm going to say is this: TikTok. Now, if you're watching TikTok, please, for the love of God, only do it if you're either like 18 or something like that. You're an adult, right? Right. If you go in there, the Palestinians are executing children. And they're actually going from door to door to door to door as the Israelis. They're getting the people and they're executing whole families. But I'm also going to say this. There's also a lot of deaths on the other side too. On the Palestinian side, there's a lot of death too. There's a lot of innocent families that are getting nothing really to do with this that are getting killed. Right? But it's really bad.
It is.
Hey, Stephanie.
Situations like this shouldn't have to take place, but yet it is. Certainly makes you wonder, what the hell is going on?
Because it's actually, I was thinking about this, and it's actually kind of worrying if you think about what's happening all over the world now. Now, I'm no into predictions and stuff like that, but here's an instance, right? Europe is getting flooded right now with refugees.
Yep.
And they are all mostly from these countries. I'm not saying what religion they are, but I'm just saying that's where they're from, right? The UK is getting flooded. France is flooded. Germany, Ireland, Jenny, if you're watching, Ireland's getting flooded. Even the United States border, they're crossing in droves, right? What happens if this is like some type of... And I'm not saying anything, I'm just listening to hear me out here. What happens if this is some type of weird Trojan horse scenario here? Because did you see what happened in Israel? There was a big dance event. Did you see that video? And they'd infiltrated it. They'd all come out like they've been doing. and just pulled out guns and started popping them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's you got to realize this is why they always try to heavily monitor major events, is because that would be the perfect time to launch an attack. It's basically shooting fish in a barrel. It may sound insensitive of me to say, but that's the thing. They're wanting to cause the most casualty, the most fear. That is how to do it. You go after major cultural events, major landmarks.
This is what I'm going to say is this, right? We know that Israel has got one of the best intelligence services in the world, right? Mm-hmm. They've got one of the best militaries in the world, right? And they missed this. I mean, this is a major failing on their part. I mean, good God, they've got spies everywhere in the West Bank and stuff like that, and they've missed this. What else is going to happen? Iran's threatening to attack. Iran's threatening to attack now and shut the Gulf. What do you call that bit where all the oil comes out? Is it? Yep. They're wanting to shut that up. If that gets shut, America's in a lot of deep shit here. I'm sorry about my swearing, but it's in a lot of deep shit because that's where you get most of your oil from, and it's where we get most of our oil from. And before you say, yeah, we've got our oil reserves and stuff, you've got 6 months supply of oil in your oil reserves. Once that's gone, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It gets topped up from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be interesting. Mossad, there you go. There's my brother doing the chat. Mossad. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight because I know Israel is going to retaliate really bad. I mean, the last time this happened was at 1974. MD in the chat can help me get him 1973, 1974. Run about then. Obviously, I was born in 1980. But this is a major war, right? And I think it's got to be. Is it Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has just said it's going to be a biblical, and he's going to bring a world of pain on them. I think they're going to commit a lot of war crimes. I think it's going to happen, but obviously that side's committing it to be shooting families.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you know about Israel, Dakota? What's your thoughts on Israel? Do you think that they should be there? And this is actually an interesting thing I would like to ask the chat. What's your thoughts? Now, bear this in mind. Israel, obviously, that's the birth. You've got the place where Jesus is, the temple and all that, Temple Mount and stuff. And you've got to remember it was run by Muslims all the way up to probably 1940s, where after the war, Britain, America gave the Jews that land, which they really shouldn't have. And they slowly took field by field by field, and you can see what's happened. What's your thoughts on this, Dakota?
The situation within Israel has long, even since before the Second World War, has long been meant to drive a stake in between Christian and Muslim populations, as well as every other religion that refers to that place the Holy Land.
Yeah.
This has been going on longer than damn near everybody that's been alive. And they are going to push, they're looking to push things into chaos, simply put.
Yeah.
Neither side is necessarily innocent in this regard. Israeli soldiers have games where they shoot out the eyes of Palestinian children.
Yep.
These extremists, as they're wanting to be called, are personally motivated. And, of course, they are the underdogs in the story, so the media is going to portray them as in a bad light. And naturally, these situations should not happen. But this also comes from the fact that does not want to sit down and talk until they realize they have no more people willing to put up a fight.
Yeah.
We're the bad guys to them. They're the bad guys to us. Innocent,
Exactly.
either way. People, and like Lawrence says, religious war, one of the worst kinds. It's one of the most, it's almost a primal divider of society. It digs into, tribalism, us versus them. And right now we know that there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes where more and more innocent people are going to die.
Yeah. Look, we know it's going to get worse. Israel's going to retaliate, man. We know that. I mean, Israel right now is leveling the West Bank. Before I come on here, before we started, before I come on there, I went on TikTok and had a look. Israel right now, and you can go and look for yourselves, is leveling Hamas and the West Bank. They're leveling it. Every building, every high rise, every non-Israeli building is getting leveled right now. The Iron Dome does its job, but it can't stop that sheer amount of rockets, right? They've called up the reservists, and they've They've declared it a state of war. America and Britain are thinking about sending troops. I've seen that.
They're going to, most likely.
And that's a bad idea, because then the Middle East will completely explode.
The Middle East is already stirring up tensions. The Russians are already blaming the U.S. for this mess.
Yeah. And what about right? There's people out there that believe in. There's people out there that believe in prophecies and that. What's the prophecy with the Temple Mount, Dakota? It's something with the Temple Mount, and that when it starts to be rebuilt, there will be a war, and it has been getting rebuilt, and war has begun. Look, Iran is just waiting for the opportunity to attack. Where do you think all these guys that are attacking the Israelis have got all these weapons for? Where do you think they've got them for? They've got them for Iran and other states that help them. It's madness. Both sides need to stop fighting right now. They need to say, look, listen, let's just call a quick step and we need to sit down at the table and talk about this. But that's not going to happen, because I know what the Jewish people are like. They will go for revenge.
But that's the thing. It's not on either side wanting to boost. Well, it is. Both sides are the ones that are going to boost their egos too high. That they're going to be too pumped full of adrenaline to stop for 5 seconds and realize what it is they're doing. Again, they're trying to justify it. This us versus them mentality, that it is leaking into some of the. I've even seen it in some of the, love and light spiritualist groups where they're trying to justify, condemning people that don't necessarily, ask questions. And granted, some of them were being assholes about it in that regard. But going back to the situation with Israel, the Temple Mount prophecy was meant to be a warning. People back then even knew how sensitive of an area that is. And once one area, one specific group, demographic, religion, whatever you want to term you want to use, tries to reclaim it, everybody else is going to start getting pissed off.
Yeah. You see that's what happened in the 1940s after World War II. The Jews wanted somewhere to stay, obviously, because of what happened in Germany and with Hitler and stuff like that. So the Allies gave them a little bit. And then there was a civil war that broke out between the Palestinians and stuff like that. And then over time, they kept saying, oh, that field over there, that belongs to us, and they would take it. And then they would keep doing this, and they would keep doing that. And now they nearly own every near the square inch of the place. That's like that. Like, imagine this, right? Imagine, right, for the people in the chat, imagine America, right? And imagine Canada is like a superpower, right? That's mad to go in, but just Canada's a superpower, right? And it's slowly taking parts of the US, right? Oh, let's take New York State. Well, let's take Pennsylvania because we need some coal. Let's take that. And within 20, 30, 40 years, the United States no more. It's just a little outcrop. You would get pissed off, wouldn't you? You would get pissed off because they were taking all your stuff. They need to sit down and they need to look at this and they need to find a solution before this goes nuclear. Because I do know that Israel do have nuclear weapons. And they'll use them to protect themselves. They've already said they would.
Again, intimidation displays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All sides are going to avoid using the nukes, but if they feel like they're going to be pushed into a corner, they're not exactly going to be thinking with the higher functions of the human mind.
What I'm saying is that Israel's not going to use nuclear weapons in its own soil. That's just ludicrous, right? America and Britain will come in and help first, right? Our soldiers will die for them, right? That's what will happen, right? But if Iran thinks, oh, I'm going to support my brothers in arms, attacks, they will nuke Iran. They will. It's a guarantee. They're going to do it. They've already said they would. They've already said they're going to do it if Iran gets involved.
Yeah.
You know, what's that in the chat there? Good Friday Agreement caused the war in Northern Ireland, but never stopped the hatred in certain parts. That's very true. I mean, the hatred's still in Ireland. My God, you've got Northern Ireland, and then you've got Southern Ireland, and it's still the hatred's terrible.
It is,
but it's not just there. There's places all around the world that's like. I just feel that we're slowly devolving into a Mad Max scenario. I do think somebody is going to. I think there's got to be wars everywhere soon. With Ukraine and Russia, and all it takes is. I mean, Britain's actually openly sending troops to Ukraine now to train soldiers.
Yeah. Look what happened when the U.S. was training Al Qaeda to help fight the Russians.
Yep.
Zelensky realizes the very allies he's trying to rely on will eventually turn on him too.
Of course they will. That with Ukraine is a total farce. It's an absolute farce. That should not have ever happened. It should never have happened. And it's because that your regime change in 2014. It should never, ever have happened. And honestly, your president, my prime minister, and all that kind of stuff, they could have done a lot more to stop this. Russia's tried to. I'm not saying that Russia's a good guy here, but I'm saying Russia has tried to stop this. They keep wanting to go to the peace table, but Zelensky will not go. You ever seen that guy? You ken he's an actor, didn't you? It makes you wonder if he's just playing a part right now.
Yeah. He was a stand-up comic who had a sitcom on the Ukrainian version of Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, the money that's getting poured into Ukraine is ridiculous right now. Ukraine's lost about 500,000 troops. More. I think it's up to 600,000 now.
But that's the term of war now. We're not going to be busting out nukes right away. It's going to be fought through proxy wars, funding wars enough everywhere else to make it seem like we're the helpful good guys.
But this gets people worried because obviously in the world agenda thing, where they say they want to get the population by 2025 down to like 500 million. Mm-hmm. Is this the beginning yet? Is nuclear war the beginning yet? I mean, that'll eradicate, 2 billion? I mean, that will even eradicate, everybody thinks nuclear war will kill everybody. No. Nuclear war will kill about maybe 3 or 4 billion. I bet there'll still be a few billion left. It makes you wonder what they've got planned.
But the thing is, they also know the negative side is slowly losing its grip.
Yeah.
So it's going to start getting desperate.
It's going to start getting extremely desperate. I actually thought that Palestine wasn't that bad, didn't it? Because there's been anything really happening there for the last couple of months. I thought they were starting to become pals again and all that kind of stuff. But obviously that was
nothing that was getting publicized.
No, nothing that was getting publicized exactly. And look, it's not just that country that's having problems right now. You've got Sudan and all that kind of stuff. They're all fighting with each other. The African countries are all fighting with each other. And then you've got Egypt. And then you've got, Jesus, it just never ends. It just never ends.
Mm-hmm.
It's that all dogs for Smith Family Paranormal. All dogs try to fight for the top of the food chain. Exactly. I think whoever's got the most pull here is needing to try and get everybody to sit at a table and say, listen, just stop. Just stop. Release all your hostages on both sides. Let's just talk about this. Because I can't what's going to happen. There'll be a general out there in Israel. He'll get desperate. Because I'll tell you something, there's quite a lot of troop deaths. This is quite bad. A lot of folk are like, it'll blow out in a couple of days. It's not that bad.
Yeah, that's what we thought about Ukraine.
That's exactly. Well, that'll blow out in a couple of days. Look at us now. Nearly 600,000 dead. But and then you're going to get the people telling like, oh, but I live in the West, I live in the UK, and I live in America, and that'll never happen here. Really? But they get them. You get people. I've met people like that. Oh, it'll never happen here. Don't be stupid. That'll never happen here. But it's going to. It's going to eventually. It's going to happen. So, Dakota, what else is on the subject tonight? What are we talking about else? We're talking about because that's quite a depressing subject. What's going on right now?
Hey. You're the one that wants to drag it into all fucking depression. This is called Bald and Bonkers, goddammit!
But we had to say something. We had to say something about it because we do have subscribers at Free Israel.
We do have people that are from that region, and they are, like I said, last I checked, they are still unaccounted for.
Yeah. So we need everybody to pray for them. And hopefully they've made it to like big bunkers and stuff like that. But their internet's been took down too, so
exactly.
You don't know. You don't know what's going on right now. You really don't. What's that Dots put up there?
What did Dots say? The people of each country don't want war. Governments want war. People want to live in peace.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's governments that cause that. This is the problem.
Governments that cause it. Private industries fund it.
I don't see why governments would want to start a war over there now. Because there's not really any resources there. But there is. They do know that is, obviously, they know that is the main place. If you want to start a fight with a religion, aka like Christianity or Islam, that's the place to do it. If you want to start a war with Islam and Christianity, that is the place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you think about all these asylum seekers and stuff like that, or these, you don't know what they're going to do.
Majority of those people are just trying to get away.
Majority of them are, but no all of them. There's something strange going on. Very strange going on, especially in the UK. I don't know about the USA, but I'm going to see if I can get somebody to come and talk about this because there's something like they're putting young guys that are coming over into hotels in the UK. Ken, there's an army base. They're kicking soldiers out the army bases and filling the army bases up.
About that.
Yeah. There's something going on. There's something more to this. There's something in Ireland. They're doing it in Ireland. They're doing it in Wales. Wales is bad. Wales has got to explode soon. England, and they're doing it in Scotland too. Something is not right. Look, I'm all for if you're from a war-torn country and your family's fleeing that country to get away, right? Give that family safety, right? But there's been some of these people that have been interviewed and they've talked too much and they've went, oh, I've got a wife and children at home, but I don't care about them. I just want to come here. Do you find that strange? So, and a lot of people will know this, and this is actually interesting. I hope we don't get banned for this. There's a lot of the people that are coming into the UK now. They're all go this card. I don't know if anybody's watched it. They've got like a credit card, and it's off of the European Union. And every month there's like $3,000 gets put on it for them, so they can buy stuff. That's red flags there. That is red flags. Why do that? Do you find it strange that there's no really, in most of the asylum seekers coming into this country, that 99% of them are young guys. There's a very small percentage where like women are kids. Very small. Do you not find something strange about that? And it's the same in the border between America and Mexico.
There's a number of things going on with that.
Yeah. I know. What's that for dots there? Weapons and pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go into the intended topic of discussion for tonight.
Yep.
You got to admit, I believe there's been very similar situations The Simpsons predicted.
Oh my God! Aye. What do you mean, the laser one in Hawaii?
No, that's one of the latest examples. But think about it. When it comes to The Simpsons, the writers just say they have a team of very smart people that pay attention to what's going on in the world.
And there's more yet.
Oh, what makes you say that?
I just think there's more to. My phone's acting all weird. That's weird. That.
Yeah, yesterday before I went on, I was actually having some issues. I get the blue screen of death on my computer.
Did you? That's weird. That because I like to watch the live through it in case there's trolls or anything. In case I can look. The Simpsons have predicted they've predicted zombie apocalypse. They've predicted nuclear war. They've also predicted the bug. Then the lasers. I think there's somebody. Look, we all know that the people that run this world and people that plan for these things like to show off before it happens.
Well, here's the thing, Chris. As someone who actually seen behind the scenes, I can actually shed some light.
Right, you go.
Yeah, you have to realize a lot of these government agents, if they could decide to go to retire for whatever reason, the skills they're taught, you pretty much have. I believe the official estimate for like a CIA operative training is almost like $3 trillion in training. No, not that high. Like $3 billion in training.
Yeah.
Everything they're taught can easily be transferred into the world of business. That's why a lot of them actually go into these major corporations after they retire. They're still young enough to be working, but they also know that their governments are shit when it comes to the promised benefits.
Yeah. There's my phone doing that again. That's weird, that.
What exactly is it doing?
It keeps shutting down YouTube. I don't know if it's doing it for everybody. I've just
Anybody else having issues?
I think it's because what we're talking about. But when you go, keep going.
Anyway. So it could very well be that they have someone on the inside who has a friend of a friend, and they heard stories, and it managed to make it into the art. But there's also something else I've always pondered. So when you think about it, you go into writing, painting, any form of art.
Mm-hmm.
You often go into sort of a meditative state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say that a lot of these artists aren't latent psychics?
Mm-hmm.
They just get these images popping in their head, and they think, oh, that'll make a good idea for a story. Like, The Simpsons with the new donut statue ended up turning into a major laser.
Here's Lauren saying, yep, closed on them twice. I'm signed in through Ghost God Scotland on my YouTube at the side of my phone, and it's closed twice.
This is why we also stream to so many damn different platforms.
Yeah.
And we also get backed up on Bumble.
Yeah.
And I did just check us on the TikTok side of it. It has tried to drop a couple of times.
When I turned on the computer tonight, I don't know if there was any psychics that you were going to turn about, but it wouldn't. It problems connecting to the internet. There was nothing wrong with the internet. It took me ages to try and get it to work, and then eventually connected.
Well, eventually.
I'm wired.
Yeah, but still, everything going on in the world right now, we also have a lot of people trying to take out the internet because they know that's going to be the one thing that causes the most chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I see where you're going with this. They're saying that the guy might be in a meditative state while he's sitting there drawing like Bart Simpson getting chased by a commie Russian or something like that, right? Mm. And he's a meditative state. But I do believe the Illuminati or whoever they are, the deep state, and again, something I'm saying your name. I don't care what you do. You can come and take the quote away. It'll be fine. Come take me away if you want. But look, they like to tell what they're doing. They like to show before they do anything. What's that, Stephanie? What's that?
From Stephanie, she says, I keep getting a lot of commercials. We are monetized on this platform, so that's not too weird. You guys will start making a good point on something, then we'll cut out to a commercial, then it comes back when you talk about something else. That's a little suspicious.
Yeah. Well, at least we're getting the monetization. It's just you're not getting the point.
Yeah. But that's why recordings go off in all sorts of different directions. So
maybe that's why you're better to go and listen to the podcast, guys, after this, because the podcast won't have any adverts on it.
They'll still run on YouTube. We have the Bald and Bonkers Archives channel as well. Shows all the same stuff. Just that one's not monetized.
It's like look, the Ken we're talking about the deep state. The deep state is the problem. The deep state's caused this bloody war in Ukraine, and they've also caused this bloody war in Israel.
Exactly.
And they've caused wars everywhere else. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. All they care about is money and control.
Exactly. You look up the origins of the Bavarian Illuminati. It's stated right there that it came together because a bunch of intelligent people realized that they can manipulate a society full of idiots.
Yeah. You just need to go into TikTok now and see how many folk are idiots.
Right.
I mean, see if I come across one mere video, and it's probably the artificial intelligence has got to hear me here, and it'll probably pop up the night when I turn it on. One mere bloody video where folk are kidding on their bots, where they're doing like things repeatedly. You kind of things I'm talking about. Eat corn over, eat corn over, eat corn over, eat corn over. And I'm like, for fuck's sake. You go back like 4 hours later and they're still doing the same thing.
Yeah, how much money those people are making off of those stupid things. I was like,
thousands.
Fuck.
Folk don't realise that there's people out there that are making easy 30 grand a week. More.
These people are making, the average person, working man's salary within the month.
Oh no, some of them are making more than that. See ones with like 2-3 million subscribers. Some of them are making them a lot.
I was hearing this story about a father who was wanting to talk to his daughter about having an OnlyFans account.
Yeah.
It's because, he has a son, and apparently he went to university, and a bunch of his son's friends found his sister's account and started harassing him about it. So he wanted to confront her, get her to the house. He was upset with her. Then he saw the peak BMW she drove up in. But nevertheless, it just goes to show, and it kind of goes to another thing. Here's another thing I've always wondered, genuinely. So let's say, sake of argument, deep state has a guy, or, they have a way of telling us stories, getting it out in the major media. Is it a way to try to prime the population?
I think
more accepting of these things.
No, I think they're trying to prime the population because they're stupid idiots, and if there's a war starts, all these stupid idiots are going to be the first to be caught up. Isn't that right? You can imagine what World War III is going to look like with this generation. Just imagine what it's going to be like with the people that dress up certain ways, with the people identify as like beetroots and bloody turnips and stuff like that, and Christ knows what they identify as, turning up on the battlefield. All these highly trained soldiers like in Iran, where they don't allow this kind of stuff, right, are just going to be sitting there waiting. And there's got to be all these folk with high heels on coming round the corners, you name it, because they allow high heels now in the military. They do. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I'm seeing that shit.
It's going to be a slaughter. It's going to be a slaughter.
Yeah, people like that are still openly killed over there. So.
And there'll be some that run into battle. Oh, I'm going to get you. Don't worry, if I die, I'll respawn. Honestly, because some of them are that stupid.
I know there's several young guys that are signing up for the military when they found out that the military actually use Xbox controllers to control drones. No. Like, I'm playing Call of Duty.
Do you know that this is actually an interesting fact about a side thing? The US submarine fleet, right? They use Xbox 360 controllers for making the submarine go left, right, and up and down. No folk don't ken that.
Where do you think the Titanic submarine got the idea?
Oh my God, that. What's that noise? I kind of shouldn't be laughing, but Jesus Christ. Don't worry. I had an extra big rub for my dinner before I came down.
You would hope that there would be some sort of, warning against what foods to eat before you're stuck in a steel can underwater.
Yeah, for 12 hours. Look, the generation now, I'm sorry to say this, but 98% of them are idiots. But I will say this, there's ones out there that are intelligent, kids out there that are intelligent, but then there's kids out there that are complete idiots.
I know, but unfortunately, the stupid people are the ones that are getting promoted. Because here's another thing. What I meant by priming is that what if they're putting these images out in the major media because it gets the society to almost accept it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're familiar with that imagery. But then you get the conspiracy nuts who realize, wait a sec, I just saw that happen on Simpsons. Everybody's going to be more focused on Simpsons than actually trying to confront the actual individuals behind the attacks.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we fucking see.
Yeah.
You all right there?
I'm just looking at my phone because it just keeps closing.
was like, I know you're kind of fidgeting in your seat, like something's up, man.
I'm just looking at it because it's weird because every now and again it's like this is what it does, right? It's every now and again you see it there. Every now and again it'll do that, and then it'll turn YouTube off.
Well, it is an iPhone.
It's got the new iOS 17. Look, we know the generation. I mean, this generation are complete idiots. Can you? Honestly, I actually think about it at night. What it's got to be like for if they have to go to war. I mean, there's men who want to be women, right? Right. Mm-hmm. And then they've fought to be joined the military as that, right? But when a war actually starts, they'll be like, "Oh no, I'm not a man anymore. I'm not this. I'm not a woman anymore. Oh, I don't want to do this anymore." Kind of thing. That's the mentality. Mm-hmm. It's through TikTok. It's through TikTok. This mentality. They're idiots. That's what I'm going to say. Right. Look, the world's fucked, and I'm just going to say that right now. What's happening in Israel is just the start. What's happening in Ukraine, that's planned. This is all planned. It's all planned with the master race or whoever they are that planned the wars before. Mm-hmm. This is what people don't realise. World War II was planned by the same people that's planning this.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say it. Fuck them. Fuck them. You notice we've lost a few people watching us and we're losing people.
Yeah. I'm actually not seeing the fucking counter on our end.
I've got it up the top and it was at 22 and now it's at 9.
Yeah. Short attention spans, people don't like hearing the truth. I mean, there's people that are pissed off at me because I called them out on their bullshit. You know that. Yeah. You've seen it plenty of times.
Look, there's got to be folk out there that are pissed off with everything, right? If I do look a bit weird, it's because I'm seared on one side, and every now and again I get like a pain. You notice I can't
like this thing going.
Aye, it's really, really seared on one side of my face. See when I turn my head like that, it's really, really seared. That's why I'm kind of twitchy. But anyway, look, I don't care what folk think. I honestly don't care what folk think. I hope there's no war. I hope you don't need to go and fight. But I'm sorry, dudes, people that are into dressing up in mad, crazy clays and calling yourselves, identifying as like bricks and Christ knows that, pronouns and all that pish. You better pray to God there's no war. You better pray to God there isn't a war because you will be called up. And there's people there that say, "Oh, I'll just no go." You came into the day with people that don't go in a war. They either put you in jail or they bring back the death sentence. That's what they did in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
You better pray. You better pray that there's no war.
I know. The number of times I've seen on TikTok where people will say, "Oh, this is what the kind of outfit if I was to get put into the draft." I was like, you don't get clothing options. You get what you're given. You make it sure it damn looks good. Otherwise, you ain't going to be sticking around.
Look, I know I've met a lot of veterans for World War II. Sadly, they're dead now because obviously it's been a while ago. But they fought for us. They fought for your freedoms that everybody's got right now. Okay, I mean, they fought for your freedoms, that all these freedoms that you have got. Freedom of speech. Well, freedom of speech is starting to go out the window because they're starting to arrest you for saying stupid stuff. But they fought and died. Think of the people in Normandy and all the soldiers that died for this, right? And now all the younger generation don't give a fuck.
Because
they don't care.
Fight for it themselves.
But they're going to have to.
There's the generational cycles that we see all the time. One generation goes to fight for what they believe is the right thing to do. They win. The changes get enacted that they wanted. But after a while, the sacrifice gets forgotten. Then these younger generations spit all over it. these World War II vets, the ones few that are still sticking around, what? It just happened again?
The adverts keep popping up every time. It's true every time. The adverts keep popping up every time you go back.
For fuck's sake. It's like
just keep that for a minute. Just keep that for a minute and then start it again.
Yeah, no, I was just saying. No, I was just gonna say, for fuck's sake, it's like it's bumping your connection purposely, and that's what's triggering the ads.
Yeah.
I have never seen that before.
I'm not skipping it because if you skip it, it just makes it worse. You have to watch more. Did you ken that?
I know. They've been particularly aggressive about that.
Right, go again.
All right. So you may be back, but everybody else may not.
I know everybody's watching adverts for like WD-40 and stuff like that, and lawnmowers and stuff.
Yeah, no, they're getting all ticked off because we decided to go monetize. We need money.
And Dots is sitting there watching adverts for like Tetley tea bags and stuff like that.
Yeah, remember Dots. Swallow, don't spit.
Mm. Especially when you're out at night looking for clapping sheep in the farm.
Anyway, as I was saying, it's not we didn't believe you, Stephanie. It's just that
we did it. It's interesting every time you
have YouTube up.
It's interesting every time you get into like an interesting subject. I get an advert.
Well, no, I was just going to say the remaining World War II vets, they're almost regretting having fought, seeing how it all unfolded.
Yeah.
But then again, as that people start to forget why the reasons why certain things were fought, the old fights are going to have to stir back up.
Yeah.
History goes to repeat itself.
Use younger guys and girls are going to, because let's face it, girls, you're going to have to go and fight in the war with the guys now because you fought for the right to go and fight alongside your brothers in arms.
So the majority of women didn't actually want to fight for equal rights back then?
No, they were happy.
They thought that they thought that the mentality back then was that the family that had more than one vote to it would start to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And it worked. I've said it before. Women's suffrage, Black Lives Matter, all of these major political movements that are supposedly for equality, and equal rights for all, regardless of skin color, gender identification, all that. It's all been hijacked to get everybody pissed off at one another.
I've just had a vision in my head. There's another ad. Look, I've just had a vision now. I can imagine a battle scene in the desert, right? Russian and Iranian tanks coming over the hill. Then you've got the Allies with their grey pied flags painted on the side of their electric tanks. Because the electric tanks, they're bringing out electric tanks that only get like 10 miles to a charge or something like that. Continuity power, and then folk jumping at them with like high heels on. God help them all. I'll tell you something now. If I'm made to go, I'm just going to get a deck chair out and a pair of binoculars. I'm just going to sit back and watch it.
I think heels only worked somewhat when we were still riding into war on horseback. That's been a long time now.
Yeah. Don't you worry. I'll be thinking of you. I might be 20,000 miles away, but I'll be thinking about you.
No, my medical history, they ain't going to be grabbing me.
I can't go either. You'll have to stay.
My medical history. My medical history? No, I've tried enlisting.
What's this? What do you guys think about the Japan being a UFO hotspot? Smith family.
Are you really fucking surprised?
Come on, the haunted forest.
Japan.
That Mount Fuji. It's Mount Fuji is one of the most active areas for UFOs.
Yeah, it's Japan though. 90% of those UFO sightings could be some weird holograms that displays that they're putting out. You remember that one show we were on, and they showed this like glowing ball and floating in the sky, and I'm just like, that's a fucking Pokeball.
Yeah, It was loads of drones, and it was drones all day and like fireworks kind of events. I will say this, though. Mount Fuji has been known for like UFOs going into it.
UFOs? If I'm not mistaken, there is the Japanese equivalent of Sasquatch sightings there as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even our late friend Mike, the Bigfoot, he wanted to go to Japan, didn't he? And look for the cryptid beasties of the deepness of the jungles of the haunted forest, you know?
Yeah, Mike was supposed to be a part of a trip that never happened.
Yeah, and it will never ever happen. Unless the Bald and Bonkers Boys make enough money to go there and explore it ourselves, alive in the forest.
Yeah, like we would be able to hold a decent internet connection while we're in there.
That'd be fine. I'll hold the satellite dish. Just walk about like that.
Okay, you finance the Starlink.
Right.
That's not the only thing
that
has a chance.
We'll get all Elon to help us. Where are you, Elon? He's on that Twitter all the time, posting stupid questions. No one has got nothing to do with.
It's his platform now, so technically he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
What's that? Jane Charles saw the arc in
Jean Charles.
Oh, that's what that is.
Jean Charles Morin, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that story, man. That would explain a lot. I'm starting to wonder if there's an arc near me.
Getting ready to take off. Where the world's gone.
No,
I wish I had a spaceship. I'd be climbing aboard at the noon, shutting the door and just taking off.
I was like, I know Dots has seen some of the details I've shared, but I don't know. There's one particular spot that's got a lot of overlaps. Like, do I have my own fucking Mount Shasta in my backyard and I didn't know it?
You never know. Right below your feet right now, there could be a ginormous spaceship just sitting there.
Well, allegedly, there's a prison facility, according to Elena's books, not too far from me.
You might end up, you wake up in there one night.
Who says I haven't been? Just starting to wonder.
There you go.
But if I go down that rabbit hole, I'm probably going to start drinking.
All right, well, don't worry. When war breaks out, they'll probably ban alcohol, they'll ban everything. It'll be hard to get stuff, you know. But look, you just need to pray that this thing in Israel ends soon. If this goes on more than a couple of days, I think it's going to. This is the start of the Middle East. This is the Middle East got to be on fire soon. This is that. It's beginning. The galactic stardust. What are you saying? There's galactic stardust.
I'm a long time lurker and never made it to live till today. Well, about time.
Welcome.
You should listen to it on my Spotify. I'm happy I can make this one live. Love you guys. You rock. Well, thank you.
Oh.
See, the system's working. They try to shut us down. We only keep coming back stronger.
Yeah, But you should really consider becoming a member of the channel. It's only 99 cents. You just hit that little join button. Or even better, if Dakota pops in a link in the chat, you click on that link and you become a member. Or you can even donate now by hitting the $ button at the bottom of the page on the right-hand side, if you wondered what that was.
But, we're not going to pressure you into it because I personally know that some banks will flag, super chat charges to your bank card. I've had that happen a couple of times.
I'm just looking at it. See, you can
become
have
a member if you want to.
I'm just looking at all the different prices and all that. You can have that Ghost Squad. Obviously, I'm signed in as Ghost Squad. But I'm just looking at all the different pictures. Super chat. I see is it super stickers or super chat?
It's super. Oh, it's both, actually.
I'm just looking at that. There's quite interesting. But YouTube just take a big cut. Yeah. So how much of that 99 cents do you actually get after YouTube take their cut?
I'm not sure. I haven't hit the... I think it's about right there. I'm not 100% sure because, we haven't made the the limit before YouTube lets us cash out.
Near a bar, and I've been doing this for ages. Wouldn't go Scotland near a bar. You know what I mean?
You've only been going to the Ghost Squad Scotland for a little over a year now, haven't you? That's not ages.
I would love to go get another subscription. What do you mean?
You got another subscription. Oh, well, that's good. Why does it, as I'm trying to get the fucking link for the membership, it makes it to where I can't post chats in Streamlabs?
Send it to me. Just post it in the chat. It's letting me do it.
How delicate my thing is.
It's letting me post it.
Probably because you're the one that hit go live. Oh, just shut up. Give me a sec.
He's getting angry. He wants his 48 cents.
Annoying Scottish motherfucker again. Won't shut up. I don't know.
I'll tell you this, young man. Oh, he made another subscriber.
Oh, that's always good.
Yeah. There it's there in the chat, ladies and gentlemen.
You like what we put out, come on board, we try to make it to where everybody's welcome. Next week, we're getting to the end of the show. Next week is actually our 2-year anniversary since we started this. For you. Christ, the connections just went in 15 minutes trying. I'm getting flooded with advertising. Well, considering the topic for tonight, we're probably going to lose our monetization.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time that's happened.
Yeah. There you go, guys. If you want to, I don't think we'll lose our monetization. They'll probably flag the video about that. Ooh, you're allowed to show an ISIS beheading video, but you're not allowed to talk about actual terrible things that are happening in the world.
Yeah. And it goes without saying. But yeah, like I said, next week is a 2-year anniversary since we started this show.
Is it? Oh my goodness me. What we're doing for the Saturday night? We're having an open panel night.
I don't know.
Invite Dots in, invite all the strange people in. If there's no third world war.
If they'll let us, dear God. These connection issues are just weird tonight.
Of course they're weird. I couldn't get my laptop. I went to use my phone. I went to use my phone and it wasn't working. And I had to get it was weird. There's something going on everywhere in the world tonight.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be met with a black SUV outside my house when I go to work tonight.
Smith Family Paranormal, is that you, Chad? Is that your birthday on the 20th? Or is it Linda? I don't know what one it is.
Chad.
Chad, the man. There you go. Birthday. Birthday time, and then you'll be going to your big event, eh? You'll be going to the event.
Yep. Yeah. For those of you who found us through Elena Denon, the week after the next, we probably won't be doing a live because I will actually be in Orlando for GISIC. So if you see me there, say hi.
I might do a live in the Saturday
I try not to be
night.
too much of an asshole.
I might do a live in the Saturday night with Jenny or something like that. One here, we might just do like a night and talk about a weird location for around the world or something like that, just to keep the monetization flowing, Help everything run.
That's up to you. You got the keys.
I've got the keys there, Jimmy. We'll be going to the farm to clap all the animals.
Hey, what you do with your girl is none of my business.
Look. I'm going to say this now. I'm going to bring this back up again. I don't see the problem for saying clapping.
I'll say it. It's like, as an American, I've never actually heard it that way. That's all it is. But now we've made it such a big deal. You can look at the merch that is below this video if you're on the main YouTube channel, and you can support Dakota Take Vids at the Disco. Oh God.
Go and show us that mask you've got. You got it there. Your mask.
No, I'm not going to be wearing my masks on.
Oh. oh, come on, Elaine will be watching this, and she'll want to see the tall, handsome, young stud from America coming in with his top hat on, his big goggles, you know.
From what I could tell, I'm going to be the biggest motherfucker there. 1, 2, I have someone waiting for me while I'm down there.
Mm-hmm. What?
I was thinking, what was that dead silence? What was that?
Tumbleweed blowing past that. Somebody will be waiting on you.
Expecting you to make some sort of...
Who's got to be waiting on you? Tell us. Do tell who's got to be waiting on you. Is it Dots? Has he got to be standing there with his bucket and spade? And he's got, I'm off to clap the gators. I'll be back after.
Yeah, Chris loves farm animals real much.
Oh my God, Chris and the farm. Look, I'll tell you something new. There is nothing wrong with using the word clap in Scotland. Clap is clapping animals, right? I don't mean clapping animals. I mean petting them in the head or scratching their ears. Again, these are all mad. Go and type it in. Type it into Google and you'll see.
First off, Christopher, you tried to say us Americans are weird, but we had to learn something from you Scots.
Oh, what's that?
That our weird quirks come from you.
How have we made Americans weird?
Because a lot of us are of Scottish heritage.
I watered down heritage. Yeah, I mean,
I've got some native in America, only in West Virginia.
Every American tourist I've ever bumped into in Scotland has told me that their great grandfather was the King of Scotland and they lived in a castle. Every single one of them. Yeah, I mean, I get that all the time. That's where I stay. It's nice here. Folk come here.
Hey, I actually have records to prove I'm related to Mary Stuart.
I'm going to tell you something new, guys. If you're American and you come to Scotland and you say you're half Scotch, the Scottish people will just burst out laughing at you because Scotch is whiskey, right? If you're going to say that you're related...
You actually get that over there?
Aye. You're half Scotch.
Seriously?
I'm half Scotch, and my great-grandfather, he was King of Scotland. He lived in a big castle. And I'm like, all right, man, good for you. And then I've had this one too. I've had, my great-grandfather's got an uncle. My great-grandfather's relation lives in Scotland. Do you know him? And I'm like, aye, he's my neighbour. Aye, there's 7 million people live in Scotland. Fuck's sake. I think there's 2 folk living in a wee house in a wee island. Get what I mean? But
you go to the right parts of Scotland, it almost looks like it.
I know. There's places in Scotland that are really nice, you know. Yes, but me and Jenny might on Bald and Bonkers might do a special Bald and Bonkers show when Dakota's away one night. On a Saturday or Sunday, I don't know what night it'll be. We'll talk about some strange things, some Irish ghosts and Scottish ghosts and ghouls and strange things.
Maybe I might sneak on for a live and maybe live stream the UFO watch party. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna be taking some of my gear with me.
Oh, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it'd be a perfect opportunity. If we get it up close, I want to see what happens if I stick my thermal camera towards the UFO.
How'd you ken there'll be a UFO there?
Considering who...
a UFO got to land in the car park and see the guy, there's my keys, go park it somewhere.
No, they have videos from the event last year showing ships above the hotel.
Oh, there you go. William Wallace, freedom! Chat. William Wallace.
Look how well that turned out for William Wallace.
Poor old William, hung, drawn, and quartered. It was a sad day that day.
Well, we're going a little bit more off the rails. It's probably time we get ready to call this.
Goodbye, everyone. See you next week. And if there's a nuclear war, we'll see you in the afterlife. Well, I'll be all right. I'll probably survive it, you know. Oh, what's this? What's that?
Yeah, and make sure if you go to, the merch that is attached to this video, will help go to sustain and preserve this hybrid specimen of Chris and clapping an alligator.
There's nothing wrong with clapping an alligator. It's maybe illegal in some states in America, but it's not legal here.
It's not legal there. Yeah.
No, I mean it's legal here. It's legal.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe anywhere you see Bald and Bonkers for even more insanity. Be sure to spread the love to the Bald and Bonkers Boys' other endeavors. And a special thank you to our audience, guests, and everyone else who helps make this crazy ride happen. Amazing things are ahead. Learn more by visiting www.baldandbonkers.net. See you next time. Much love and take care.